right? I mean, you could have went in a lot of different directions, right? What gave you the focus? What gave you the emotional intellect to know that Lindsay was something that you needed and that you would be willing to make the sacrifice to get her back into your life? How did you get that vision?
There was one instance. She had come to visit me one time in Austin, and we were having a good time. We were out on 6th Street, and we were headed home, late at like 2 a.m. And I was like, "Hurry, hey, we need to close this tab up and go home. We have to go to church in the morning." It was a snide remark, and she said, "Whatever, I love Jesus. I'll go to church tomorrow morning." And I remember thinking, wow, this girl is bold. And at a time, typically in college, where you don't confess your faith, and you don't see the foundation, the infrastructure that's deep, that had roots like that. And of course, that was her prior 20 years of life that spoke up in that instant. And when I heard that immediately, my sheep heard my voice. I heard that in her voice and in her passion behind it. I was like, wow, that girl right there is legit. She obviously looks, physically, I'm attracted to her. But then when she said that, I was like, that's the girl for me. Because I've run through a lot of different relationships that didn't have that foundation.
Right.
And I knew when I heard that, I was like, bingo, that's it. And so that plus...
And then I just continued to kind of be on your heart, and you would pray, and you would say, God, if she's not the one for me, take her off my heart. And I never left.
Never left. And exactly, because I was like, this is too difficult. And she's not really ready to get over it. I said, I don't want to identify myself with a sad story and just be that guy who tries to find that girl, and his life ends up, where he's drinking alone because he can't find the girl. I was like, look, if this is not the case, if this is not what's best for me, take her off my heart. But again, that passion to become the man I knew I needed to get a second chance with this one here made me who I am to this day. And, and I knew that I was going to have to clean up my act and be that guy. And so right about the time I became that guy, we ended up meeting up again. I was able to take this precious gift and to steer it, to drive the F-16, so to speak, in a capacity that was respectful and what she needed.
Well, I tell you that you, and this is speaking as another man, right, and a man who has been successful in a lot of areas in his life, you have some precociousness that most men don't have, right? Most of us don't mature emotionally, right, as early as you did. So you're talking about in college, right? Usually men, we don't mature emotionally, so we take that business train right on to about age 35 or 40, right, and we're very focused on careers and making money and putting ourselves, above the pack, right, being the alpha male and the leader of the pack. So to have that precociousness to bring some of these other F's into your life at such an early age, right, is really commendable.
Well, and I'll tell you, it came from another tragedy. From the time I was about 12 on to about 20, I suffered from manic depression and cyclothymia and all these mental disorders that were inevitably just a result of poor eating, and nobody ever asked what my nutrition was. I wish we'd had this conversation, 25 years ago.
Right.
But it is what it is. And so from that up and down, there's no worse fate than your own mind being your enemy.
Right.
You
Hey,
can't
man.
sleep, you can't, you're constantly depressed, and then, it's just, it's terrible, and I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. And I told myself I will never take another drug because that added fuel to the fire, and I was even more up and down, and I was even more confused. And so when I was, about the time I graduated, I said I will never take another pill. I will figure out a way to heal myself so that I don't have to go through this. And I didn't, worldly success was so far beyond my desires. I just wanted to feel good and not be depressed.
Right.
That's all I cared about, and I wasn't looking to get married or to make money. I just didn't want to be, borderline suicidal the rest of my life. So, this desire to seek the foundation of you could really make money. I mean, being a trainer and learning about your body and feeding people good food. I mean, it was not something that you were going to have make money. And so I had to make that clear. Yeah, it wasn't like I'm going to go sell stock or I'm going to be a this body. I mean, the path that I was taking, I kind of knew, it's half the version of Yellow Wood. And I knew that this path. I didn't know at the time that it was going to be able to generate financial blessings that we wanted. But I knew that was the only way. If I could heal myself, that I could help other people in the same situation. And that's really what
Well, that's what I have been fishing for, and the reason that I wanted to do this interview is that, again, when you said that 5 Fs this morning, I knew, again, me having put that under my own belt, it's like being a Marine or a Navy SEAL. When you see somebody else with that, you know that they had to have gone through what I call the crucible, right? They had to have gone through some type of fire that made you see the light, so to speak, right? And made you change, made you get in line and do the things that are right? These principles of right living, right? And so it takes many times going through that crucible for you to be, I mean, you have got to either go down or you got to go up, right? You get to such a low point and you said you didn't want to take the drugs anymore and you didn't want to think about killing yourself and that type of thing. So people, that becomes a fork in the road. And in order for you to move up, there is a certain, again, if you want to fly that jet, there are some things that you got to do, and you figured that out, right? And some people do it later, and I did it a little later, right, than you did. But it doesn't matter. That road is still there. It's always been there. You just have to decide to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the neat thing about Daniel's story. You know, when you see him now, you know, he's, you know, done modeling for, you know, all the biggest, you know, retailers out there, you know, Penny's and Neiman's and the whole thing. And, you know, he's beautiful to look at. But, you know, it's because he has had such a desire to actually be healthy. It's about health. It's not really about, you know, the cosmetic look of it all. That's just a benefit of it. But it was actually to get his spirit centered and to find himself, to find the tools within himself, not knowing or knowing that he didn't have to take, you know, a drug to feel that way. And the drugs actually put him on an emotional roller coaster, and he just knew there was a better way.
Right.
And from, you know, his mom tells stories, you know, that he was, you know, a lonely kiddo, and she would go to school to, you know, see him at lunchtime or whatever, and he would be eating by himself. Like he just, and I don't mean to embarrass you.
It's true. It's pathetically funny almost, you know.
It is.
in a way, you know?
Right. But it's real, and people go through that, and it makes you relatable, and it just shows that you always haven't been, you know, just on this pedestal, but that you actually worked really stinking hard to find yourself and to find what actually works and what gives results, you know, mentally, physically, spiritually, you know, all three of them. And that is, you know, and then you figured out, okay, this works for me, this has to be able to work for others, and I want to help you. I want to help you, you know, find this love and this freedom from the inside out, and those tools I can give to you, and then I'm going to send you on your way to go do that.
Right. Well, the keys to the kingdom are available to us all, and I mean, my blood DNA is no different than yours or different than Lindsay's. I mean, everyone can have this. Like you said, I mean, you were 99.9% exactly the same, and you know, as a kid, I remember with my teeth were all messed up, and I had I had bigger gaps than I had teeth, and
you were overweight,
I was overweight,
and you were eating all the sugar.
Yeah, and
and
it was just
yeah.
But I knew, and I remember praying, saying, Lord, please, one day I want to be, you know, good looking. I want to be made fun of because of my looks.
Right.
And I went through that stage where I was made fun of for the way that I looked.
Right.
And that was a hard one, especially at like 4 or 5, 6
Right.
years old. I mean, you're like, I didn't choose to be built like this. I didn't ask this. I didn't choose this body style. This is who I am, and it hurts you to the core of who you are. And there was a tough time. I mean, I wish I could have gone back. You know, it's hard and painful, and I pray that, you know, our son never has to go through that. But then again, I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah.
Because it forged in me an ability to reach out and say, I have no other way to go about this. There's no other way that can help me. God, will you please help me in all these different categories? I want to be, you know, good looking, and I want to be healthy, and I don't want to be, you know, over the course of my adolescence, I would ask these different prayers. And I will say this, every single prayer that I've ever prayed has come true. From everything from her to, you know, not being made fun of for my looks. Everything I've prayed came true, and so now it's a matter of, well, if everything else has come true, all the desires that have yet to be fulfilled will come true as well.
I'm going to keep believing.
Right.
I'm 10 for 10. Why shouldn't I continue to believe that everything else will happen? And there's a confidence in that between me and, you know, our Maker, that it's all going to continue to happen as long as I continue to fly that plane,
Right.
keep my 5 Fs where they should be, then we're good.
Right. And, you know, I relate to that and to so many of the things that you said. You know, I mean, I was the nerd, right, growing up. I had the very thick glasses, right, and you know, I had the slide rule back then. That was what was called back then the Poindexter. I mean, I used to get beat up a lot, you know, and people looking at us today, you know, us doing the workout, right, and being fit and that type of thing, they see that, but they don't see again, that kid and the struggle that we had to get to be where we are now. And so I think both of our stories are very good lessons for other people out there who may be struggling and thinking that this is their destiny,
Yes, that's
right?
all there is. Exactly. No.
That their past equals their future. It doesn't,
Right,
right?
right.
So you worked your way out of that. You know, I worked my way out of my situation, and you do that, and then you get fulfilled in so many areas. And again, we just met for the second time today, but I can tell you just from what I have experienced and seeing where you are now, that where you are now, you have such fulfillment in your life that you just want to give,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
You don't need to take, right? You don't need, right? So you have just been so blessed and so fulfilled that it just feels good to you to give.
Amen.
And it's not a zero-sum game. There's not, if I get 50, you get 50, or if I get 17, you get 83. It's not like that. I mean, it's quantum in what we can create together. And I think that, what we have to do is see that when I win, you win. Back to the story about my mentor, he sent me an article about Trammell Crow, and they said the one thing about Trammell Crow that was so unique was that he made more millionaires in the process of himself becoming wealthy than any other person. And that really stuck with me. And it was like, you don't have to fight for this or that. I mean, if you're good
Right.
and you're generous and you share,
Right.
everyone will grow together. And
Right.
I'm telling you what, more of a friendship or a bond comes between two people who have maximized, or who have gotten wealthy off something together. I mean,
Right.
It's a friendship.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
creative. And really,
Right.
all the wealth in the world, if it's not put to good use, is pointless. And,
Right.
we have opportunities, you have gifts, and we have gifts. And if we don't share them with the world, I don't want to look back on my life and at the end God's like, I gave you all this stuff and you didn't share it and you let it just die in your hands.
Right.
That's not the case. We want to get it out there and share it, and we'll be taken care of. I mean, truly, if all 5 of our F's are good, we're good. Everyone, I'm not going to sit and tell you that, we don't want to be wealthy. We want to be wealthy and not rich. And
Right.
whatever that means, that's what we want to be.
In all those 5 areas, right?
Right.
All
Yeah.
5
Exactly.
because if you're
Okay.
not, you're empty.
Right.
And, Thomas Jefferson said health is wealth.
Right.
And as well, I mean, I know plenty of people who are uber wealthy, but they're lonely and they're dependent upon, drugs. They have no family, no one that will reach out to them. Unless you.
Well,
have
we
all
see that in the headlines every day,
Yeah.
right? With so many of these celebrities, right? They have fame, they have fortune, right? And then they end up like Robin Williams, right? Or Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston or some of these other tragic lives that were so successful in one area, but they neglected the others and didn't know how to work themselves out of it, right? So, well, it's been great meeting you guys. We really look forward to interdependence in a lot of these 5F areas. I know that we're going to make a lot of impact on people's lives as far as help, but I think we're going to make lots of impact on people's lives in lots of other areas also.
Look forward to it, Roby.
All right.